Welcome back to Grassroots Media, and welcome to this year's edition of the Eric Tilson Show, where we cover everything on the Tundra with the North Greene Huskies football team. As always, I'm joined here with North Greene head coach Eric Tilson. Coach, good to see you back again this year.
Welcome back.
Third year here on the Tundra. Started out in week one with a county opponent. We'll jump right into that. You had West Greene to open your season, a 26-0 loss on the range. Talk about some of your thoughts on the game. I know it was, I think, a 30-point difference that you held them to from last year's game. It was a 56-7 score to a 26-0 score. So you saw a lot of improvement for your team. We had talked about how your team had grown a lot, and you had seen the growth in that team on Friday night. So give us your thoughts on that game.
I mean, going into it, we knew we could match up well. We knew we had some players, but we also knew we were young, and it was good to kind of step up and for week one to have to play a team that came off their one of the best teams in school history and returned a lot of those same kids playing a lot of football. And thought we competed really well. Physical effort was there. Just some of those young mistakes came out for game one. A lot of the game one jitters happened. They were tough to overcome, especially those small little details, as we talk all the time with our team. We've got the physical effort down. We've got the schematics down. Now it's time to really hone in on the details, and that's what got us beat on Friday is the difference in holding an outside leverage on a run on the first touchdown, the difference in playing the one gap over on another touchdown, and like blocking the right guys when they returned that pick six. So there's a lot of those small details that come into playing a good football team who will win some games this year. I was pretty upset after Friday because I felt like we could go in and go compete, but got a lot of emails and a lot of people who I've never even talked to before from even outside of our program and outside of our community saying they've really complimenting our team and saying this is one of the best and one of the scrappiest bunches of kids they've seen up here in North Greene.
I want to talk about your defense a little bit also, because you were able to force 2 turnovers on their first 2 possessions. And I don't know if you had forced a turnover against them last year, but it seemed like the defense came out hot and they came out hungry for the ball.
I was really impressed with our defense. I tell them all the time, you can overcome anything on defense with a relentless effort and a physicality. And they did a great job. And it's kind of the bend, don't break style on the first drive where we just kept forcing them to snap the ball. And eventually, offensively, they're going to make a mistake, and they did, and we made them pay for it. And then at the end of the first drive, they make a mistake, and we make them pay for it. It was real good to see that. And then throughout the night, they just played solid football, minus a couple mistakes, which we call critical errors. We made 2 or 3 of those, which opened up the game. And it's hard to overcome when you're playing really good defense when the other team gets a defensive score themselves. And your percentages of winning the ball game go up tremendously when you score on either special teams or defense. Mm-hmm. And they did that, so their chances went up tremendously when that happened. So that's a long way to overcome, and it felt like our defense was on the field for the entire game. And they played really hard, especially through 3 quarters. They barely had over 100 yards through 3 quarters, and then the fourth quarter it kind of got away from us there. And that's where the difference in size comes in, lack of depth and stuff. Because our first 11 I think could go toe to toe with them, and then it was just we got overwhelmed towards the end.
And the offense too, it never seemed like they got completely going. You weren't able to put any points on the board. You got 153 yards on offense. A lot of that came from Yeshua and Grayson, as you would expect to. I think Yeshua Vaught finished with 65 rushing yards. Grayson Collins finished with 29 rushing yards and had 66 passing. So those 2, again, were your 2 key players on offense through the night. They got things going for you, but just couldn't find the end zone in the end, it seemed like.
Well, it's like one of those days where we'd have one mistake here, one mistake there. Either that was timing or a missed leverage on a block, or lining up on the wrong side to pull a defender where we're trying to put the ball in. It's like one or two people every play, and that really turned out to be pretty significant. And we start to get something going on offense, and then we get a penalty, kind of detract from some of the momentum that we got. And the frustrating part on offense is getting down in the red zone and not taking advantage of it, getting all the way down to the 15-yard line and not being able to punch it in. And you can't win ball games like that, and we didn't.
From what I read, too, it was a game of a lot of runs. The game went by very quick from what I noticed, because I was at South Greene. Their games always start 30 minutes beforehand, and I think your game was over before theirs was over.
Yes.
So it seemed like the clock just kept churning down the whole entire game. Was that the case?
That was, and of course that's the way it goes. We're downhill running a running team, and so were they. So that's how it happened. I've got to go get these kids in real quick.
All right, so we'll go ahead and take a break there. That's all we've got for the West Greene recap. So we'll be right back after this break and preview their next game against Castlewood here on Grassroots Media.
At Corner Pond, the friendly and knowledgeable staff has the experience necessary to help you out regardless the need. Have an item of value you'd like to pawn or sell? Corner Pond can help. They pawn numerous items of value, including firearms, tools, ammunition, silver, coins, and much more. When you walk through their doors, you'll find well-stocked shelves full of electronics, gaming systems, fishing and hunting equipment, car audio and accessories. And don't forget about the room full of guitars and basses and amplifiers, or their outside lawn and garden equipment. Corner Pond is a case knife dealer and carries numerous used knives as well. Stop by and let the friendly staff at Corner Pond help you today at 432 East Bernard Avenue, Greenville, Tennessee.
Pizza, pancakes, or donuts, the Davy Crockett Travel Center in Baileyton has the cure for all your cravings. While you're there, shop our general store for souvenirs, gifts, and cellular accessories. In a hurry, grab a cold drink and a hot dog to go. Check us out on Facebook and come to Baileyton.
Welcome back to Grassroots Media, and welcome back to this week's edition of the Eric Tilson Show, where we cover everything on the Tundra with the North Greene football team. As always, I'm here with Huskies head coach Eric Tilson. So you hit the road again this week. You're on the road for the first 2 weeks of the season. You travel up to Castlewood, Virginia, a place that you're familiar with, where you traveled to, I believe, 2 years ago. And you've kind of got some ties to Castlewood now, as I understand. Yes. We talked about it during your preview interview, where your new offensive coordinator is from Castlewood. Yes. So that might play in a little differently. That might give you an extra edge. But give me your thoughts on going up there and playing them this week.
Well, it's always interesting going to play Castlewood because we're their first opponent.
Okay.
So Virginia's a week behind us, so they've got a week's game on us, and we don't really have any film on them. So it's kind of hard to predict what type of team they had. And rolling into last year's game, we thought they were going to be something else, and then they completely were. Kind of took us back a little bit, but we kind of got a feel for who they have. And our new offense coordinator this year, Eric Vaughn, was there during the COVID year, and then he's there for a couple years with their previous head coach that they had, and head coach there. So a lot of those seniors now were freshmen back when he was there, so he knows some of those kids. So he's got some familiarity with the program, but it's hard to predict what they're going to be. We've got some scrimmage film. We got their benefit game that they played last week, and they've got some big targets. They like to throw the ball, big QB, and a guy that likes to run the ball really hard back there. And they substitute quite a bit offensively and defensively. Their linebackers and their safeties are well coached, and they read keys pretty well. So they're able to come downhill. So it's, but again, kind of figuring out, because none of the teams are familiar who they play. So it can be deceiving as a coach to watch film of an opponent like that.
Is their offense kind of the same as yours at the moment? Because I know that he's coming down from their school, but do you all kind of run similar offenses still? Because if I remember correctly, they ran the wing T 2 years ago, right?
They ran the single wing 2 years ago, and similar to what Coach Vaughn ran when he was there. And then that was with the previous coach, and then with this new coach, Bubba Edwards, he's an air raid guy, so they're spreading things out, trying to sling the ball around now.
Okay.
Which is more familiar to what you don't see single wing anymore.
No,
but
you don't.
you'll see teams trying to spread it out. So you do. 7-on-7 type stuff that you'll see, and they got some inside zone, some reverses off of it, some outside zone. So you'll see some of those type of plays.
How do you think your defense will match up against that too, and what have you kind of done to simulate some of that in practice?
Well, it's kind of who we are. Is we got a bunch of speed on the field. We've moved to a 3-down structure, so it's we got a lot of dudes that can run, and that's a lot of that had to do with depth up front, because you kind of got to model your schemes and your base what you do on offense, defense around who you have. And that's our personnel right now, and it's real simple, so it's easy for kids to get lined up, and so our defensively, we schematically think we match up pretty well in terms of the schematics of it, but our kids have to actually go out and go make plays in space, which they do well, so that would give you some confidence going into a game. Okay, our kids tackle well in space, so we'll take advantage of it.
Give us some insight on their defense also. What will your offense be stacking up against and looking at?
Well, with the way we run offense, we know we're not necessarily going to get anybody's base defense. So teams will adjust to us differently than they've lined up to all year. So we can expect a lot of different things, so especially if we start running the ball really well. Mm-hmm. Like last Friday night, where we were running our one of our power plays and our guard tackle counter, and they knew it was coming. It didn't matter. So we start getting downhill, they'll start adjusting. So they're a 3-4 structure, 2-high structure, but most of the teams will start rolling the safety down. They'll start adding somebody to the line of scrimmage, adding somebody to the box. At least that's what I would do playing us. So we know that. So that's where our adjustments going from week 1 to week 2 is getting our athletes out in space and finding ways to get them the ball. So that's going to be huge for us, because we do have athletes that can do something with the ball in space. All right, now let's go get them the ball in space.
So from North Greene, how long of a trip is it to Castlewood? I checked from where I live, it's about an hour and a half. Is that the same?
That's about an hour and a half. It's technically an hour and 15 minutes. If you go through Gate City, and I would highly suggest not going through Gate City, because last time we went through Gate City, we had 4 kids puke, because that road is windy as all get out, and so we're heading up through Abingdon,
okay,
and we're going to take the long way around because it's a straight shot. So we are not going through Gate City. So whatever
you don't want to clean up any vomit either.
Oh no, not at all. Well, luckily we went outside of the bus last time, so it was quite the experience last time we went up there.
The good news is, too, your long-distance out-of-conference opponent this year isn't as long of a road trip as Red Boiling Springs.
Oh, no. So I never want to do that again.
I want to look back through North Greene's entire history and see if you've ever made a road trip that far in the regular season.
Coach Bailey, his dad, Tim Bailey, was coaching here, and they were saying that they went down to Alabama one game. So they took a trip down there. I can't tell you what team it was, but they
Wow.
said they had a long one. So
that should be just a weekend trip. You go to Alabama, you should just plan the weekend around
just
it.
go ahead and stay down there. Might as well.
Leave Thursday.
Well, for some reason we got a ton of Alabama fans around here, so they'd probably go enjoy a football game down there. Makes no sense to me.
The most important question I always ask you every year, too. I'm always so excited to ask this question. Your 3 keys to the game, what are they this week? Go.
Well, he kind of put me on the spot there. I don't even know if I remember them. But effort.
Playmaking.
Playmakers got to make plays, and we got to. This might be different last year, but we got to focus on details.
Okay.
So we focus on details. We're good enough to for our playmakers to go make plays, and we just got to go give the effort and go tackle. So
I think last year was a great effort, great tackling, playmakers making plays.
It's kind of the same thing, but
Okay. This year it's a great effort.
This one we got to focus on some details. So doing the right things at the right time and go play within ourselves because our guys are young, so they get excited real easily, and they just got to know that they're a good football team. They're good football players. And they don't have to do anything above what they're capable of doing. They just have to be themselves, and they'll go win football games. That's all they have to do. They don't have to be somebody else or somebody else on another team. They just have to be who they are within our team, and North Greene will go win football games.
That about sums it up. I'm glad we got something different now. I think for about 20 straight coaches shows, we had the same three keys. So switching it up a little bit here.
I don't know if I'm starting to get old or what, but I'm starting to forget things a lot easily. Of course, with the new offense coordinator and we have defense coordinator, I don't really know what to do with myself half the time. So I don't have to call plays anymore, and they're scripting practice and just kind of make a schedule and just kind of sit back and be a CEO for a little bit. So it's been kind of nice. So
I was about to say that's got to be fun.
A little bit. So.
But I think it's about all the time we've got this week, Coach. Appreciate you for letting me come in again this week. Thank you all for watching this week's edition of the Eric Tilson Show. North Greene plays at Castlewood, Virginia. Kickoffs is set for 7:30.
7 o'clock.
7 o'clock?
Yes.
Okay,
yep.
7 o'clock at Castlewood, Virginia. So if you're a Huskies fan, go ahead and make that long drive up there. We look forward to seeing you up there, and we look forward to seeing you next week here on Grassroots Media.